order. Please call the roll.
Ouch. Okay.
Please call. Go ahead.
Isom. Here. Zingy. Here. Sievertson.
Here.
Coos. Gage. Here. Kiefer.
Yeah.
Flora.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, that brings us to communications. We have a substitute motion for 7A4. And we start out with a public hearing on ordinance number 16826, amending Ketchikan Municipal Code, Chapter 1112, Telecommunications Services and Rates. Is there anybody here to speak to that tonight? Seeing that, we'll close the public hearing. That brings us two persons to be heard. Kathleen, start us off.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Lynn. I'm the director of the Arts Council. I live at 410 Cedar Lower. I'm here to make a quick report on what the Arts Council's been up to. And just for Council Member Flora, the Arts Council does receive grant funding, operation funding from the City of Ketchikan, and we feel it's really important that the Council is aware of the activities and programs of the Arts Council. So I come and make a little update every now and then. So in October, the Main Street Gallery hosted artist Ricardo Burquez. Ricardo's been in Ketchikan for 18 years, has been a fisherman and an artist for that many years. You may have seen his work around town, Ocean View, Chico's, but also in many people's homes. He's done commissions all around town. For the month of October, in the Main Street Gallery, did a little bit of a different exhibit. We started with no art. And Mr. Burquez spent the month painting a 20-foot mural. And it's in 5 pieces. It's the waterfront of Ketchikan. So it starts on the left side of the Lutheran Church, and it goes all the way to the Coast Guard. And it's the view from the water looking at town, and it's really quite wonderful. So he painted this piece in 23 days, which is absolutely not enough time to paint that many square feet of art, but he did it, and so it was pretty extraordinary. So we had a backwards opening. We had a celebration at the end of the month, and there was 109 people that came to the opening. But throughout the month, people came and watched the painting evolve, and so we had 665 people throughout the month come look at this piece. It's really quite extraordinary. Also in October, we had our first Torch Night season performance. Samada was the band. They are a very diverse group. Their music was awesome, and they came on a day that school was out. And so we did an outreach at the school anyway, and 36 kids who had no school came to this workshop anyway, and it was awesome. They spent a lot of time with the musicians. The next day on Saturday, we did a drumming workshop. A lot of those kids came back, and a lot of families joined the band. 52 people came to that workshop. And then that evening, we had the performance, and so we had a blast. 113 people came to the performance. It was really quite a special event. We started our Saturday morning art classes in October on the 15th. Our Saturday morning art classes are aimed at kids grades 1 through 3 and 4 through 6. And each time we do one of these sessions, they're 5 or 6 weeks long, we either focus on a genre of art, something, a theme, something like that. This month, we were able, for this class, we were able to partner with Ketchikan Indian Community, with language experts Terry Burr and Ben Young. And this time, we are working on the Tsimshian language, Shimaliak, and the Haida language, Hadko. And the kids are learning the Tsimshian story, The Boy Who Was Taken by the Star People. except for after a little bit of negotiation last week, it's now the girl who was taken by the Star People. So they are learning the 2 languages to be able to perform this story at the Main Street Gallery. And they started on the 15th. The performance is going to be on the 19th of this month at the gallery at 11 a.m. And it'd be awesome if any of you could make it to watch them perform. Our Arts Uncorked class has started with a bang. We sold out both of our pottery classes. We sold out our fused glass class, and we're well on the way to selling several of the other classes. So it's really something that the community was wanting and is enjoying. We're happy to provide it. We've started an artist salon. This is an opportunity for creatives, creative thinkers to get together and talk about ideas and to learn from each other and to grow as a group. We've met twice, and it's really pretty extraordinary what's happening within that group. It's an open group. Anybody can come. Writers, thinkers, scientists, engineers, visual artists, musicians, whoever. And just the ideas bouncing around the room is pretty extraordinary to be in the middle of. So I'm excited to see where this goes. So in November, we opened our next gallery exhibit. That was like last week, I think. It's Felix Wong's photography exhibit, and it's called Moonshine, and it's all-night photography. And we went from Ricardo Burquez's piece, which is one piece, and it's just this charming, charismatic, beautiful piece, to Felix's exhibit, which is dramatic and jaw-dropping, and just the change in the gallery is pretty cool. So if you made it to Ricardo's, I hope you can come to Felix's and see the difference in the gallery. It's pretty cool. Preparations for Wearable, we've already started. We're going to have our first Q&A on the 15th so that people who've never been in Wearable can ask questions, figure out what the deal is, learn all about adhesives. That's what they like to do in Wearable Q&As. And then for the Winter Arts Fair, we've got all of our vendors lined up. We have one more space for a booth. We think that one's already taken this afternoon, but we'll see. So that's over 80 artists already ready to go. Small businesses, 80 small businesses ready to go for the Winter Arts Fair. We're excited to have that happen. That's always the weekend after Thanksgiving. So the opening gala is Friday, November 25th, and it goes Saturday and Sunday, the 26th and 27th. It's at Ted Ferry Civic Center and Cape Fox. And lastly, the deadline to submit for young people to the Youth and Art exhibit at the Main Street Gallery in December is November 29th. So if you know any young people who are artists and would like to put a piece in the gallery, December's the month for them. That's it.
Any questions for Kathleen? Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you.
That brings us Joel Jackson.
Good evening, Joel Jackson, 177 Martin Buggy. I'm here representing Gateway Aquila regarding the Ketchikan, or the city's RFP for the Ketchikan Regional Youth Facility. My understanding is that might be discussed later in the meeting. I'm just available if anybody has any questions for me, and obviously after hours as well if you want to give me a call. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Joe? Yep, you're good. Spencer.
Spencer Strasburg, 618 Canyon. I only got a couple of things tonight. I wanted to stop in and say congratulations to Mr. Flora on the appointment of that seat. I'd probably be lying if I didn't say I was just a little disappointed at how that went. But that's how it goes in politics. They don't always go the way we want it to go. And that's probably why the country is kind of melting down right now over opinions. So I'm just kind of I want to make sure that in Ketchikan we don't cross that line. You know, I mean, we're all passionate about our ideas, and we get up here and put ourselves out on the line, and it's a tough job. But at the end of the day, we all live together on the same rock here. So being respectful and stuff is pretty important. We all need to support each other. Basically, that's what it boils down to. We all need each other more than we think we need each other at times. And so, even Bob and I sat and had a cup of coffee at the coffee shop down there, and it was really nice, actually. Bob, we're probably on kind of different teams, but it was nice to sit there and have a cup of coffee, and I really enjoyed that.
I appreciate that too.
I appreciate that from you. Speaking of the coffee shop, so having a coffee shop this winter, I realized has opened the door for more dialogue in my store. Before they came in, they bought something, they left. Now there's a coffee shop, and I sit in there and I trade stocks in the morning until noon. And so they're there for me to talk to. And in some respects, it's really nice, and in other respects, you got to have a thick skin. You got to talk to people. You got to hear opinions and stuff. And that's what I'm hearing. I'm getting a lot of stuff, and so that's why I came to say, hey, we got to get transparency, and we got to be clear at the messages we're sending to the voters and things like that. So, with that, the questions that I hear coming up now are, how many marijuana shops will we limit this to? Will we limit to one or two? Last we heard, I think Ms. Isom was vacillating between limiting it to one or two. I think at that time Bob was checking out some stuff in Washington to see how those things were put together, and Judy was sick and tired of talking about marijuana. Well, then the public just doesn't hear anything. So they heard we're going to do this, but then they don't hear anything. And we spent some taxpayer money talking about these things for 2 readings, and then we're not getting any more feedback, so everybody's kind of perched on edge going, hey, what's happening? Are they back in closed session? Is this an executive thing, or how's this going? And I'm saying, I don't know. I guess they're probably just talking about it amongst themselves. They're probably just figuring out what they want to do. And so there's all this confusion, but here's the problem with it. Once we say we're going to do that, we create a situation in town. We got some people out there, at least several that I know of, who are rushing to get that license thing going. A lot of those guys are concerned, saying, hey, if they're going to limit this thing, I got to get moving. I got to get my stuff in. I need to be grandfathered before anybody messes this whole thing up. So then you got some other guys that may be holding back. I don't know what to do. So right now, the voter doesn't know what to do with what you've given us. You've kind of left us in the dark. You guys are figuring it out somewhere back in those meetings or at your house or the picnic place, or I'm not really sure where, but we're not getting the information here. And so I think that's what we need to talk about, is where we're at with that, where we're going with that thing, and we need to figure out what kind of limitations we want to put in there, because should everybody get in this big fired up rush to come down here and beat the city council to making these decisions and get grandfathered in, we could see 25 of them this month. We wouldn't have any control. So we went from taking all the control to having none of the control. Got to strike a balance in the middle. We've got to figure out what we're going to do. And we need to get that message to the voters relatively soon. The longer that we sit around and we kind of do nothing, the longer things are out of our control. So if you guys have any questions or anything, you can ask me now, or you can see me at the coffee shop when all that dialogue is going on.
I'll stop by and see you at the coffee shop.
All right. I would appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Spencer.
You betcha. Thank you.
All right, that's the last person signed up to speak tonight to the council. Is there somebody who didn't sign up and like to address the council tonight? Anybody? Seeing none, we'll move out of persons to be heard. That brings us down to consent agenda. I was thinking of adding under public utilities B1, A1, A2, and I think that was it. 7A2 and 7A1.
Yeah, I have some thoughts about 7A2.
We will not bother with that.
We'll bother with it. Just we'll bother with it.
So B1 and A1. All right. Do we have a motion to consent?
Your Honor, I move the consent.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you read the items?
Yeah, just a second. Okay. Minutes of the regular City Council meeting of October 20th, 2016. Resolution number 162642, supporting full funding for the State Municipal Harbor Facility Grant Program in FY 2018 State Capital Budget. Resolution number 162643, in support of proposed changes to Alaska Statutes 30.30 and 05.25, improving the management and prevention of derelict vessels. Resolution number 162644 in support of the state of Alaska adopting a fine print note to the 2017 Electrical Code, Article 505.3. Resolution number 162516 adopting the Ketchikan Greater Ketchikan Area Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Commercial Passenger Vessel Tax Grant Agreement with the Ketchikan Gateway Borough, CPV eligible projects at the Centennial Building, exempting the procurement of encryption services, software, and maintenance support for the Telecommunications Division. That's what Very Matrix Incorporated. And budget transfer for the Borough Shuttle Service to the Ted Ferry Civic Center for the 2016 Winter Arts Fair. And the last one is the Telecommunications Division end-of-year budget transfers.
All right, does anybody have any questions on any of the items? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Isom? Yes. Ziggy?
Yes.
Severson?
Yeah.
Gage?
Yes.
Kuiper?
Yes.
And Flora.
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-0. That is 6, yep. Now that brings us down to new business 7A2, 2018 Southeast Conference Annual Meeting. Am I right?
Yep.
6B1.
No,
We put that on.
Did you put that on the consent?
Consent,
Oh,
yes.
okay. Sorry, I missed that one.
Okay.
That was for amending telecommunications rates.
Yes. Dave, do you have something on that?
Yeah, we can get a motion, please.
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
I move the City Council direct the City Manager to waive the fees associated with the use of the Ted Ferry Civic Center for the 2018 Southeast Annual Conference Annual Meeting and include sufficient funds for the city's share of the cost of the host of city reception in the 2018 Mayor and Council Community Promotion account number 610-01.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Dave, did you want to talk about it?
Yeah. First of all, I want to make it really clear that I support this.
Okay.
I support this strongly. But, there's always a but. Can someone explain to me why we are directing staff to put something 2 budgets down? I mean, I realize this happens that year, but it seems to me odd that we're, I don't know, why are we doing this now? Is there a reason why we don't do this during the next budget cycles? I mean, why are we doing this now?
I was thinking maybe it was for their budgeting, but does anybody know?
Can someone explain this to me?
Well, here we got somebody coming.
Civic Center Manager Alice Nelson. The reason it's coming up right now is because a lot of our annual events are booking 2 years out, and so they wanted to get the dates and everything squared away just because of all the other annual events that are happening, because there's quite a few that are right around that time.
But do we normally put something in a budget 2 or 3 or 4 or 15 years down the line?
Yes, we have.
If I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, we're trying to get council to confirm that we're willing to put up the Civic Center and the expenses so we can tell Southeast Conference, yes, everything is set. So we're looking for that direction from the council now. It won't be budgeted until that year, but Southeast Conference is looking for a commitment from us now, just as they are.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, Your Honor. Just that it just seems odd.
No. Anybody else? Right.
Just from my time working for the Chamber and working with the Ted Ferry Civic Center, I realize how the dates that are chosen have to be chosen 3 years in advance, some of them, right?
Yes.
In order to confirm that they have that space available. And I totally understand it as far as our budgeting. I don't know. But it's coming, I had a question. It's coming out of the council
Promotion.
Yeah, council. Yeah. I'm all for it. I want to see Southeast Conference here again.
Yeah, I want to be real clear. I'm not opposed to this. It just seems, and I'm also not opposed to saying, hey, yeah, you can have the space. It just seems odd that we're budgeting. We're actually technically I guess I'd rather see us say, yes, staff, we agree with this. Go ahead, rather than us saying we're making a budget decision for a budget that's 18 months away.
I think it's because the Ted Ferry Civic Center is the only place that can hold Southeast Conference. And their timeline is it has to be held this far in advance.
but what's to prevent a future council, which most of us will probably still be on, saying next year, no, I'm not doing that.
Right. That's what I want to do.
We can
So
hope
why don't we
for
let
that.
Carl into it?
The process seems odd to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with the sentiment 100%. The
Right.
process seems.
It's not a formal budget amendment.
Right.
It's just giving staff direction that we're going to put up the Civic Center and we're going to put up sufficient funds to host the community conference. If you're uncomfortable with the wording relative to the budget, you can take that out. I'm just looking for direction that you're willing to spend the money to get the conference here. That's all it was.
Well, I'll have 27 days left of my mayorship when this happens, so I'm all fine with doing that.
No, I'm not.
Well, we
Call the roll,
want you to go out with a bang.
Yes. It'll come out of your.
Yeah, don't throw it at me.
Zingy?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Kuiper?
Yes.
Flora?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-0. That brings us down to 7A3, Resolution 162624, amending the City of Ketchikan compensation plan. Do we have a motion, please?
Your Honor,
Go ahead,
I move
Bob.
the City Council approve resolution number 162624, amending the City of Ketchikan compensation plan and establish an effective date.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Bob?
Well, I think this is something for Carl if anybody needs explanation on it, but it sounds like due to the changes that we've had, we've changed some mid-ranges and stuff. That some of the bigger stuff in it, Carl?
Councilmember Severson is correct. That's one of the three issues we're trying to address here to keep the midpoint of the comp plan. It used to be I, we're now at step U, so it's logical to the midpoint at step K. The other is to establish a definitive time period for an employee to appeal his or her performance evaluation. Currently, the comp plan is silent on that. And the third is to allow my office comparable consideration in terms of promoting an internal employee. Past practice of the council has been to give that employee an increase of approximately 4%. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense in a lot of cases where if an employee is acting in a capacity, they'll be given an 8% premium for that acting time. If they're promoted permanently to that, then they're only going to get 4%. The other part is under the comp plan, if you establish the midpoint at step K, I have a vacant position. I can go out on the market and hire anybody at step K, but I can't promote somebody to that position under current interpretation. I can only give them a 4% increase. That seems to put existing employees at a disadvantage in terms of compensation when we're filling positions. This is something that's been discussed for quite a long time by the council. We're just trying to get it codified now.
And you're the one that makes that decision.
Up to the midpoint of the comp plan, that's correct.
Thank you. Anybody else? Call the roll.
Severson?
Yes.
Gage?
Yeah.
Kuiper?
Yes.
Flora?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
That passes 6-0. That brings us down to 7A4, and we have a substitute motion declaring the former Rias float as surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of it by auction. And do we have a motion?
Your Honor, move the City Council declare the former Rias float as surplus property and authorize the city manager to dispose of it by auction with a minimum bid of $35,000, the proceeds of which are to be deposited in the Harbor Construction Fund with the intent of financing the fabrication and installation of the new breakwater at Hole-in-the-Wall Harbor.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Carl, and I talked to you earlier today, which I'm all for doing we looked at that breakwater out of the Edgewater, and Pool did that, and I guess my direction is that what I'm looking for is instead of just putting a piece there where we have the log, I was looking at, actually making it into the breakwater style out there in front where we do the whole thing, where that old breakwater, which we still use, wouldn't have to be used. And under that construction of pools, I think we can do it pretty inexpensively. And so I don't know if the council understands what I'm trying to do, but I'd like us to go out and get a cost, not just for replacing that log, but utilizing that system to provide a complete breakwater out there. And I know I talked to you and you understand where I'm coming from. I just want to know if the council, I don't know if they...
Mr. Mayor, if the council adopts the motion to surplus the float, we'll bring back the concept of the design that you and I discussed at a future meeting, probably either the 21st or the first meeting in December. We'll have that outlined so the council can see what we're talking about.
Okay. I think now is the time, and I love working outside the box and seeing what pulled in. I guess now Mr. Paulson's interested too. We could have a couple guys bidding on the project and trying to provide something which is all the better for us. I don't know if any of you guys haven't, out by the Edgewater pool, put in a breakwater using those big old tires and stuff, and it's really neat, and it's something that I think we can afford. In fact, I think it was looking at like $100 a foot or something, so it wasn't bad at all.
Wow.
All right. Let's pass this motion. Anybody else have anything to say? Call the roll.
Gage?
Yes.
Kuiper?
Yes.
Flora?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-0. And we don't need the authorizing that contract. We're not doing that. That brings us down to 785, ordinance number 16-1834 and 16-1833, amending Ketchikan Municipal Code section 312-050 and 312-035, respectively, relating to bidding and or quotation requirements as related to local purchases. First reading. Do we have a motion?
John.
Go ahead.
Let me get down to where the motion is here.
I think there's two of them.
Yeah, there's the first motion. I move the City Council approve in first reading ordinance number 16-1834, amending the KMC 3.12.050 entitled Purchasing when competitive bid or quotations are not required by adding a new section, A13, concerning purchase from local businesses, reimbursement renumbering existing KMC 3.12.050A13 to 3.12.050A14 and establish an effective date.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Bob, do you want to add anything?
No, it was pretty. This was brought up. I think it's a great idea to try to keep as much business as local as we can and give our staff tools to be able to do that.
Call the roll.
Kuiper?
Yes.
Flora?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-0. Do we have a motion on the next one?
Motion number 2. I move the City Council approve in first reading ordinance number 16-1833, amending KMC 3.12.035 entitled Purchase of Public Improvement when competitive bids or quotations are required by adding a new section, D9, concerning purchasing from local business, renumbering existing KMC 3.12.035 D9 to 3.12.035 D10 and establish effective date.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody want to add anything? Call the roll.
Flora?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
And Kuiper?
Yes.
That approves 6-0. That brings us down to 7B1, Telecommunication Division end-of-year budget transfers.
We did that one. That one too.
No.
Oh, I mixed that one up then. 6B1. Okay. Got it. My bad.
Sorry.
Your Honor, I move the City Council approve transfers of $356,550 from and to various accounts within the 2016 Telecommunications Division operating and capital budget to reconcile apparent shortfalls that were identified during the 2017 budget preparation process, as detailed in the Telecommunications Division Manager's report dated November 1st, 2016.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Dave, you want to add anything?
I think, yeah. No, yeah, that's fine.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I understand what they're doing here, but trying to read it in this type of form compared to looking at it in a spreadsheet form, I think it's, I don't know if they've gone over their budgets by 200% or 10% and that type of stuff. So I understand they're trying to even up the counts, but when you talk about going over by 132,000 or whatever it may be, what percentage of that was that in that account? Did we bust it by 200% or like a 10% or what it might be? I have no way of correlating to that budget item, I guess. I'd just like to see it in a spreadsheet format so we could get a better handle on what those accounts went over by. And when we're taking money out of accounts, when we're taking $40,000 out of an account, is it an account with $150,000 or is it an account with $45,000? So that's all I'm asking for is clarification.
Sounds good. Jenna Lee.
And just looking at this, do we need to start looking at with our new budget how we're allocating the monies for these? I mean, are we putting them in the right places?
Yeah, they're just trying. They're taking money out of some counts that have some money left at the end of the year to
Right.
fill in the others. So
But it's
we
a
don't
lot
take it
of-
out of reserves.
Yeah. It's just a lot. I mean, it's great, but it's
Anybody else? Call the roll.
Isom,
Yes.
Zingy,
yes.
Severson,
Yeah.
Gage,
Yes.
Kuiper,
Yes.
and Flora.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Brings us down to vouchers for the Ketchikan Daily News, $4,780.96. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
move to approve the vouchers for the Ketchikan Daily News in the amount of $4,780.96.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Zingy,
Yes.
Severson,
Yes.
Gage,
Yeah.
Kuiper,
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
Isom.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. That brings us down to manager's report. Carl?
I have several, Mr. Mayor. Yesterday, we received our copy of the recorded deed for the former Ketchikan Regional Youth Facility, so that building is now ours. On Friday, that was the due date for the RFP for the repurposing of that building. We received one proposal from Aquila, essentially to utilize the building as a sobering or sobriety center. Essentially, what Aquila wants to do is apply for a recently announced state grant that essentially would be $1 million a year for a 3-year period to implement this type of facility, which would serve not only as a safe house, but also as my term as a portal to more extended treatment, depending on the individual client involved. The due date for that application is early in December. The review committee met this afternoon to review Aquila's proposal. We also met with Mr. Jackson of Aquila, who gave a presentation. We will be bringing back a more detailed report for council consideration at the 21st. If the inclination is to accept Aquila's proposal, it would mean a lease of the building for the term of the grant period, which is essentially 3 years at no cost. And I made it clear that we would want to evaluate at the end of the 3-year period whether Aquila thought at that point the program and the facility would be self-sustaining before we would agree to transfer. So that will be coming back to council at your 21st meeting. They were the only proposers. I think the proposal does make sense in the context of what the task force had put forward at their last meeting. Their three priorities were a detox facility, which this proposal could eventually turn into. The second priority was a safe house, which this one is incorporating, and the third was advocacy. So that's where things stand, and we'll have a report for council at the 21st.
Dave has a question.
Yeah, I think I get this is a good idea. Who's responsible, since it's our building, who's responsible for major maintenance or anything else?
That's something we're going to have to work out between now and the time they put in the proposal. So we'll try to detail all that for you in the report on the 21st. Earlier this year, Mr. Mayor.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
I have a question. Is a safe house another word for a wet house?
I don't want to speak for Mr. Jackson, so I'm going to defer to him.
Council, my name is Joel Jackson from Gateway Keela. So the proposal from the state of Alaska gave three options for proposals. You could run it as a detox or as a level 3.5, which is similar to what we do at Car House, or you could use this as a sobering center. What it is a place where, according to the proposal, they can be there for 3 to 14 hours. So someone who is intoxicated, doesn't have to be alcohol, could be anything, can come in on their own, could be brought in by the police, could come from the hospital, a family member. Really, they could walk up on their own, and they would be monitored, they would be assessed, and we hope to tie them into our services that we already have. So we're already in the hospital, seeing some of these folks. We're seeing them further along down the line, and to city manager's comment, it is a safe place. Another potential referral source is WISH, because sometimes WISH gets folks that show up that aren't appropriate to go into the population, but with a little bit of time they might be. So,
No, I understand that, but I'm wondering, this isn't a place where we let them camp out and drink there.
No, it's not.
So it's a place where they'll go to get help, not a place where they'll.
That is what I'm
Okay, that's what I just wanted
Sorry
to
about
mention. That's okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh, Bobby, your question.
Yeah, I think that we should ask the community if there's any concerns also, because you're put in the middle of an area where you have grade schools, all kinds of things, and what kind of impact that will have on those areas. If people know that that's a place where they go and they're making their way there on their own through school zones that may be intoxicated or...
To my understanding, it's zoned the same as the hospital, which accepts these very same folks every day. It is a different part of the property, obviously. The area is surveilled or has been surveilled by cameras, and our intent would obviously be to have cameras on site. But yeah, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Thanks, Joe. Next, Carl.
Earlier this year, Mr. Mayor, the council approved an amendment with the FCS group to do an update of their previous work on utility rates. It's taken a bit longer than we had hoped, but they are now prepared to bring something forward. We're looking at the calendar when they're available, when council would be available. It's my recommendation that you do this in conjunction with your budget deliberations relative to both the wastewater and the water divisions. We're targeting the December 5th budget meeting for them to make a presentation if that's acceptable with the council.
Sounds good.
We did put on the agenda as a manager's report for this meeting, the third quarter overtime reports. For those departments where it's necessary, we'll be bringing back corrective action plans at the first meeting in December. I would note that, again, in the manager's report, I advised the City Council that we have made an offer which has been accepted for the new library director. Patricia Tony of Connecticut has accepted that position, and she'll be beginning shortly after the beginning of the new year, and we're looking forward to bringing her on board. We're in the process of doing background checks on a preferred candidate for museum director. As soon as those are done, if they come back clear, we hope to extend an offer for that position, and we'll advise the council accordingly. I want to take the opportunity to congratulate Ruben Duran, the new borough manager who will begin later in December. I did have the opportunity to serve on the community panel in that selection process. They had 3 good candidates, and I enjoyed being part of that. On the KPU side, again, we did submit a report as part of the manager's report. I want to recognize Kim Simpson for her award from the Rural Broadband Association in terms of her marketing skills and what she's brought to KPU. Very deserving recognition, and Kim's to be congratulated for that. And that's all I've got, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Carl. Anybody have a question for Carl? Seeing none, we'll move to City Clerk's file.
I handed out the list of committees tonight for
Thank you.
people to sign up for, so just get them back to me.
City Attorney's report. Future agenda items. Mayor and council comments. Judy.
I guess this might be an agenda item. An update on where we are with the ADA accessible cabs. We talked about that for a while, but I haven't heard anything about that. And just congratulations to Kim. Great job. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Jenna Lee.
Yeah, just congratulations to Kim. I was going to ask the same thing.
Okay. It's sort of weird. I was thinking about that before the meeting too the other day. Where are we at? I almost heard Keith's voice. Julie.
Nothing.
Bob.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Dave.
A couple of them, Your Honor. First of all, I guess I wanted a little bit of clarification in case I'm missing the point here, and I have frequently on the marijuana thing. I was under the impression the council set a number, and we have not. I mean, it doesn't mean we can't revisit it, but there is a number set. Two. So there's shouldn't be any confusion. Right now there are 2.
It had 2 readings, and it.
I was going to go down to have coffee with Spencer and let him
Just
know.
wanted to make sure that I wasn't, because as we know, there's been some confusion in the haze of whatever.
And then the girls, like,
the borough can do whatever they jolly well please.
they're working on their licenses right now.
Yeah, but we set a number within the state limits of 2. Okay. Congratulations to Kim. That's a major award, and I think we're all real proud of it. I want to thank Carl for filling in for me when I couldn't be on the borough manager committee because I had things happening that day, and I'm sure it's a very interesting project, but thank you. I'm torn here because, I'm sad for Bob that he didn't win, but I'm glad he's not here.
That's what I said.
It's like, sorry.
That's fine.
Mark?
Nothing beyond I'm grateful for the appointment, and I look forward to serving our community.
Thank you very much. I congratulate Kim. I thank Bob for taking the time and effort. That's a lot of work on that to run something like that, and I just appreciate your effort. And we're always happy to have you here, so that's good. We've got plenty of, like I said, at that hospital thing, when we were dedicating the hospital, I always thought Bob would probably was getting tired of me because he always leans over and gives me these ideas, which are great, and then I bring them up at the meeting, and it looks like I'm taking all the credit, and Bob's whispering in my ear what we should do. So I just thankfully put the effort in and tried.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Carl, curb cuts, we're still working on that. We aren't solid on the one there by the Daily News and everything. We're still
About the downtown, yes.
Okay. We're working on it?
Yes, there should be, it hasn't already been advertised in the Daily News. It should be shortly.
Well, I know, but are we still going with the curb cut sizes? Remember I brought up the one to Public Works? in front of the Daily News, and I thought the one doing that across the street would be better because there's only one lane traffic.
I don't think that's a conversation you and I had.
No, it was here at the table.
I'm not sure I was at that meeting, but
Oh, okay. Well, the one by the Daily News on Dock Street, where you're at the corner of Dock and Baden, you take a right-hand turn when you come to the stop sign at Baden. They have a really big curb cut outward, and if they could switch that across the street where it's only one way and you only have to turn up the hill or go straight, I just think for buses and everything it'd be a lot easier. And he was going to look at it, and I just don't want it to get lost in the fold because I think it's going to be a tough one because the buses come up the hill there and try to make a left-hand turn, and I think that right-hand turn is going to be a tough one too off Baden. But the other street, across the street, is just that one way right there by the Centennial lot, and I thought that'd be a lot easier. But if you guys could just look, I just think that curb cut's way too big, but I know there's restrictions and everything, but if you could put it in another location across the street, I thought it would be better. But he was going to look at it if he could find out whatever came of that. What else? We also have one, we talked about down on the harbor, we still have one issue down there, and it comes to a head on Monday. I was wondering if the crew could make at least one more contact with them to see if they're willing to have them get something filmed or take a look at that system before anything else. And I don't think I have anything else except we have an executive session.
Yeah.
Okay. And then before we go into executive session, does anybody want to do radio tomorrow?
Bob.
I've got an appointment. Otherwise, I do.
I got it.
Yeah, I don't mind doing them. It's kind of fun. They do a good job.
I'm baking. No. Yeah, send the new guy.
Go on that station.
All right, we have an executive session, 15B1, request for executive session consideration of legal and financial issues associated with the sale effort phase conducted under the brokerage service agreement between the City of Ketchikan, Ketchikan Public Utilities, Faulkner Capital Corporation. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor, I move the City Council declare that consistent with the General Manager's memorandum dated October 27, 2016, it is in the best interest of the City Council to review the status of the sale effort phase conducted under the brokerage service agreement between the City of Ketchikan, DBA Ketchikan Public Utilities, and Falkenberg Capital Corporation in executive session in accordance with the finding. The City Council go into executive session in accordance with KMC 2.04.025A1 and B2 and AS 44.62.310C1 and 3 and review the status of the sale effort phase conducted under the brokerage services agreement between the City of Ketchikan, DBA Ketchikan Public Utilities, and Falkenberg Capital Corporation, and the auxiliary item described in the General Manager's memorandum dated October 27, 2016, which includes the need to discuss subject knowledge of which could have an adverse impact upon the finances of the City of Ketchikan, DBA Ketchikan Public Utilities, and to receive legal advice related to such matters protected under attorney-client privilege.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Isom?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Kuiper? Laura?
Yes.
That passes 5-1. We'll adjourn here and go back to executive session. We talked with the management. There's no action at this time. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, everybody.